Uh, Chief Whip. Chief Whip.
Oh, no. Thanks, Chair. Thanks a lot, General. Good afternoon. I know that many questions have been asked and answered, so I shouldn't be that long. And I'm going to try and rephrase the question for you to address a specific issue. For instance, in your submitted SON affidavit, General, you speak about General Mdluli, the decision about his suspension, but you also talk about on the same paragraph that you were directed by the then Minister and Deputy Minister to fire General Shabalala. Now, what I want to understand here, what is it that is so special about Mdluli? Who is Mdluli? And where does the country come from with Mdluli? Because he emerges as somebody very central to whatever that has happened in our security cluster over the past a decade or two. Who is the man?
Well, I really don't have extra information than what I have. Mdluli became the head of the crime intelligence in June, when I became the head of South African police administratively in July. I am told that the way he was employed was a panel of ministers chaired by the Minister of Police. I think there was a Minister of Intelligence at the time who happened to, I guess, was Dr. Cele. I think there were other ministers. There were about 4. I can't remember who they are. That makes him a little bit special, Mdluli, from the very word go, because I've never seen a TTG having such a panel of the ministers. But one thing that was quite significant, there was an acting police commissioner then, General Williams, or Commissioner Williams, and I'm told was not part of that panel. This is a DDG, but the DG of that department is not part of that panel. That's quite interesting. Mdluli, his background, this is under correction, so that I don't lie under oath. And I fight with Mr. Skosana. So his history looks like it comes from the police anyway, but was belonging to this branch, that infamous branch called Special Branch. Looks like that's where it comes from. And those that they know him, they said he would be a not a very kind guy. Those that have been in the hands of Special Branch, they would understand how they would treat you, those guys. They were not nice at all. So it looks like he was part of those guys. But also looks like he was person that people were scared of him. Because the arrest looks like was suspected, because I don't think was ever found guilty, was suspected of murder, which had nothing to do with the work, which was a kind of a social matter, because it looks like a person that was murdered because he interfered with his girlfriend. So sounds like that. So he's a person that would you know him to be brutal both work and socially, but it's a person that I wouldn't know him too much because he spent his time reporting to the minister and the president rather than reporting to the national commissioner.
No, thanks, General. You know, I'm asking this question because in your submission, you made an important observation that essentially the time at which the country started to regress in terms of its capability to defeat crime in our country was more or less around the same time, around that time, when such characters were being appointed, and let alone the way in which that character was appointed. But you also made references to the fact that as a consequence of your refusal to act or the way in which you acted towards him, you acquired some enemies. And I think the enemies that you acquired also included, if I read your statement very well, the head of state of that time. Now, you know, there is a theory that may not enjoy popularity in our country, but it's there. And because it exists, it's supposed to be dissected. That there's always been people either who were infiltrated in the movement that led us into liberation, or who were inherited by the democratic state after 1994, remain in the system, but always working hard day and night to bring the very system down. Do you think these are coincidences that here pops up Mdluli, gets appointed in a very funny way, and the situation changes right from that period? Of course, with the then National Commissioner Bheki assuming the reins, and the destruction of the security cluster happens unabated. Would you say these are just mere coincidences, or this is maybe one of the manifestations of an intervention that is done deliberately to weaken the democratic state at a security level?
Honorable member, maybe one important thing to say about Mdluli. He was suspended for 8 years. He was under suspension for 8 years. And remember that you hire nobody if a person is suspended. So he was earning his salary without any hindrance as suspended. Yet there was no head of the crime intelligence. So there is that gap until he was fired by Mbalula, as Mbalula comes, and I came after Mbalula, but was suspended and earning the salary for eight years. So it could be both him getting involved, but also there was this lacuna that was there because there was no head. But broadly, from the world of security, honorable member, there are no structures that are not infiltrated by opposition. That's your take. That's bottom line. They even say when you're operative intelligence, they give you a beautiful, good information. You must be worried because information is forever on the exchange. So you wonder, as they give him such a good information, how much good information he or she gives on the other side.
It's a game of trade-offs.
Yeah.
I give you this one, you give me the other one. Now, General, the issue, you know, when we listen to Minister Mkhunu, part of his consideration, and not only him, I think General Spear as well, there's this issue about the amount of money that was spent on the PKTT. I know you said earlier on that's not a terrain that you would have been directly involved. And I remember Minister Mkhunu saying that we may have to ask the AG or somebody else to conduct an audit. But where I want to get an understanding from you, was there ever any moment where a focused discussion during your tenure takes place with regard to the impact on the finances of SAPS of the work of the PKTT? Was there ever any, and if there was, including maybe possible abuse that may involve the S&T or the overtime? So was there any focused discussion on the matter? And if there was, any actions were taken maybe to mitigate the possibility of the system being exploited?
I think this one of abuse, there have been some specific examples that were made, Chairperson, that the operatives and the police were sleeping on posh hotels. They've mentioned one. I hear people saying that Beverly Hill is a top-notch. There is a top-notch hotel next to Beverly called Oyster. Oyster Box. That is a really top-notch. That's a really top-notch something. So there is an accusation. There's an accusation that we're sleeping there. I don't have that information that there are police that slept there at the Oyster Box. I don't know where they were sleeping. What I know is that they would have found the accommodation from the hotels or those places that they would have slept to. But I am under correction. For me, there would be no reason for the police to be sent to sleep at the Oyster Box, which I think Mamumeri speaks on it, that they were sleeping there at Oyster Box. But if they were sleeping in the hotels, let's say minus Oyster Box, is not something that will be awkward and be based only in KZN, honorable member. There is a hotel here as you drive near. Is it the Mountain View? Is Tape View? There's a place called Tape View here in Cape Town. There is a hotel that is on the water. There's on the sea. The South African Police of Operation Thunder were living there. As you sleep, the waves are almost on your room in that hotel. So then it could not be the problem then of PKTT. So it could be the generic problem that we'll have to work on. So for me, my argument would not then, if that is your consideration, you would have dealt with one unit and let others sleep on the sea.
Now, General, you made some observations about. Sorry, Chair.
Honorable Malem.
I just want to ask General to remind us, Richard Mdluli, when he was arrested, was he not with another police officer called Timba or Killer?
Yes.
What was Killer's role in the police at that time?
What was his?
Yeah, what was his role? Was he also in the crime intelligence?
The crime intelligence. He's still there. He's still in the police.
Has he not gone to Ikuruleni to work in the Ikuruleni there from Zwandile?
Why umbuza into yaziyo? So I think it did go to Ikuruleni, but I think it did come back to the CI. Yes, it did work for Ikuruleni.
You may proceed, Chief.
Yeah. No, thanks, Chair. General, I just want to ask if you have any suggestions that you would like to leave with us, because you raise a concern about, and you identified it as a major problem confronting the police, the issue of, for a lack of a better word, I think you refer to easy bail, people getting bail easily. Never mind that they've committed crime for which the police are convinced a conviction can be secured. I don't remember whether you have made any proposals about what exactly should be done, if any, if you have thought about it.
Actually, I would love to add on this thing of bail. There is another animal called parole. That's another big animal. Where people, I'm told, they are released on the good behavior in prison. And I don't know why you would have a good when you have how you have a good behavior in prison, because you're in prison. So you behave so because you're in prison. So we can get the numbers, but the numbers are quite bad of the repeat offenders of the parolees. So both parolees and the bail, they need to be looked very, very close, Honorable Chair. There is an argument that there are not too many criminals that are running amok among South Africans. But the problem of the courts and correctional service is the resupply of the criminals, that they come back. At some times, by the way, we are victims of our success, especially the police who are victims of our success. When I was there, Honorable Member, there were 3 bouts of parole under Minister Lamula. At one time, there were 14,000. At the other time, there were 9,000 parolees at a go. The last one included Umsholozi, the parole, quoting that parole of 9,000. So it's an issue that when you follow them, you find them, some of them going back, having done the worst things and the original things that they've done, but also most they are found for the revenge. That they go back to those people that were witnesses and set them in prison and come back to them. I'm not saying that people, they must die in prison, but if there is a way of checking and thoroughly checking on the parole, they should be so. But when it comes to bail, I think the laws are there. There is this Schedule 6. If I'm not mistaken, the lawyers will help you. I'm told that the Schedule 6, you don't get the bail, especially if you're second Schedule 6 and all that kind of thing. So there are the laws that are there. But one thing that keeps cropping up with the bail is corruption. I don't know if the members are aware of the fire that is burning around the Judge Letwaba with a bail of Mlefe, that the Judge Letwaba was given 2.5 million to grant that bail. So there is that the magistrates are not very sympathetic to the work of the police. So if we can enhance those laws, let's do. But the laws are there. I hope people that are there to implement those laws can do the best.
Let me check with the Chief Whip first. Did you want to make a follow-up on the question before I... Honorable Sangoni, Honorable Nomval.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. No, I think we've heard you, General, on the bail. I suspect that the Chief Whip is also looking forward now to also our report. Beyond bail, are you seeing any legislative or institutional reforms that you think this Parliament should be considering to strengthen the police service, given your experience in there?
Of the bail or policy in general?
Not bail, beyond the bail issue, which is one matter. All of these challenges that Honorable Nduli was asking about, that you've spoken at length over the last 2 days, is there anything that you think from a law perspective or an institutional reform perspective we should be considering? Chairperson,
I've said this time and again, or I heard Mkwanazi talking about it here. I said this is a good learner. I've said it time and again. Sometimes I think those that I belong with them in the organization, they'll think I'm a rebel on it. We created the situation where victims are treated worse than the perpetrators. Perpetrators in South Africa are having it nice, and the victims are thrown under the bus. by the system. Most of your kids here, they are at school, private school, you have houses, you have cars and all that. If one of you are shot and killed, that killer will be taken to police station. The first thing that will do will complain about cold water. Want a hot water. That's the first thing that I can't use cold water here. I want a hot water. And indeed, you run around like a headless chicken getting hot water for him. The second one will say, I don't eat this, I eat this. When he's sick, most of them are taken to private hospitals where they have never been. Go there. When they're sentenced, they sit with TV and they watch everything and still go enjoy their medication and all that. When they stay longer, they study until we have just been given the numbers of those that will be writing matric, and others, they come out with PhDs and all that. Where are the kids of the father that was shot by that person? Nobody knows. We have the track record and the follow-up of a perpetrator until gets the parole. But we don't know about the kids that as their father dies, they are taken out of their private school because they can't pay. Their cars is repossessed. Their house is repossessed. And kids, we call them paras. The system is wrong. We just need to go back. It's sympathetic and it's good to perpetrators vis-a-vis the victims. I think that should be really, well, that is not a sour grape because people that follow my statements, publicly speaking, I've said that thing time and again. The police die young. Maybe that's why we have subset and all that kind of thing. Even that, by the way, Honorable Malemo, it's fun that we don't have the special education trust from the government that teaches the offense of the police that die on the line of duty. When we pay about 13,000 rand a month for a single prisoner. And those that are innocent, they get 350 rand. Then it's fine to go to prison. We pay 13,000 rand per prisoner a month. We pay 350 rand for a person that does not work and is hungry with the family. So people, they get comfort out of crime, out of committing crime. So I think we need to go back and check the system and see what we can do with the system as a whole. Thanks.
Honorable Nomvalo, Honorable Malem.
Yeah, thank you once again, Chair. I just want to establish from the General. When General Nhlanhla was here, he said the reason why they formed this multidisciplinary approach or task team, it's because they were faced with an undesirable scenario where they arrest people today and see them out on bail on the following day. So one of the reasons why they formed it, it's because they wanted to circumvent that. Now, the question is, during your tenure, I know that you left it while it was doing its job. Is that kind of formation able to diffuse this thing that you call an animal, this one of a bail? And from a genuine and objective perspective point of view, I agree with you as a person who has been practicing as an attorney for 10 years. So I agree with your frustration because it is a prevalent problem that we have in our legal system. But is this an ideal formation that we can advise even to task teams which are currently in existence to say, because we are dealing with critical issues and we don't want to open gaps and loopholes. We must make sure that we have a multidisciplinary approach that will have SAPS, NPA, so that there will be no possibility for frivolous bails that are issued to criminals who will come back and be dangerous to society. Thank you very much.
We would term it a prosecutorial directed kind of investigations when they work together. Remember that in this task team initial, honorable member, there were this almost how many, 116 or 126 police with about 8 prosecutors working there. That did improve the situation. I think it's much better when the police investigators work together with the prosecutors. Mkwanazi was correct, and the situation improved when the team was formed.
And the other thing you're proposing is that we need to democratize that thing of hiring of DDGs, where a national commissioner just can't appoint a person alone. Perhaps if we open it to a couple of people, depending on what could be the suggestion at a time. The same way Mdluli was hired, where you've got a couple of ministers sitting together, inclusive of the national commissioner or anything to that effect, where these other people get hired, including provincial commissioners. We don't subject them to one individual.
Provincial commissioners or honorable member, they are in the constitution, so they are fine. They are in the constitution. The national commissioner in concurrence with the provincial government, so they agree on that. So again, a minimal play of the minister. They say if they can't agree, the minister comes and mediates. Immediately he mediates. So that will be an issue. So provincial commissioners are catered for. The problem are lieutenants generals who are DDGs. Honorable member, there is a way how DDGs are employed as we speak now. The DDGs, there will be a panel. I think the panel will be, I think DG will be 3 ministers and the DG from the other department. I think there will be 5 in panel. I forget to the 5th one. But the DDG, it could be a minister of that department and with the deputies of that department, and is a little bit junior. But it's happening. The call here is that even with the police, it must happen as it happened across the government. You don't need to come with the new methods. Those methods exist. How they exclude police is a problem, because it's only you that would decide that I'm the DTG today. And indeed, you keep reminding me, but by the way, you are DTG because I like it. So it is a problem.
Thank you so much, Chief Whip.
No, thanks, Chair. General, there was a long discussion here with Minister Mkun about the appointment of a Chief of Staff. What has been your own practice in the appointment of your own Chief of Staff? Maybe if you can recall in the police, because that's a recent job you have left.
Chief of Staff, there is a panel that Chief of Staff goes through, getting interviews and all that, and then they will recommend, and you've got, while there is a panel, you've got a very big say with the Chief of Staff that you agree with, but you don't You don't sit on it, but as a minister, you do put the panel that will work on the matter, because it's a minister's employment, the chief of staff. But I can't wake up the next morning and shout that Mbele now is the chief of staff. There is a process nonetheless.
So the process is basically to look at the things that should not be bothering you, like check qualifications and all these other things. Now, who goes into that panel, not as a member, but to be considered as the chief of staff? Mangit, who? I mean, do you have to submit 3 names, 1 name? Who else? And how do people get to hear about it if I want to throw my name as well in the panel and be considered for the chief of staff of a minister?
I think it could be chief of staff. It could be both, depending on the minister. You can internally advertise, or you can advertise externally, as it would have happened with especially the police body. Usually in the police, they start by advertising internally, and if you can't get that person, then you go externally. That's how it goes. The panel that would be there, and those that applied from outside, if it is that the way it has been advertised, or internally if it has been internal, and then they go through and they give and then they give the names to you, and you agree.
Okay. I'm left with 3 questions now, General. We're almost done here.
Just before you conclude, Honorable Nomvalo.
No, Chair, I was saying the chief whip must declare if he has an interest. We can lobby for him.
Let's proceed, Chief.
No, thanks, Chair. No, I'm left with 3. The one of the 3 questions is another character, General, and I'm taking advantage of the fact that you have been in the public service since 1994, and also you are coming from the security terrain, even in terms of your participation in the struggle. Another character that has emerged over the past few years, very dominant in the police sector, for whatever reasons, is Paul O'Sullivan. Who is this person?
I thought you were going to say it's Mohose.
No, that one is a newcomer.
Paul Sullivan. I think Paul Sullivan is a British citizen originally. I don't know when he came in South Africa and all that kind of thing. Is one person that he plays big. So for some reason, I've never met him, but he really likes to talk about Cele. That's one person that speaks about Cele. One time was giving the history of Cele, where when they were asking where it comes from, what is the history of Cele to be in this line of police. And he said, one time I was a metro police in Durban. Said I was a metro police in Durban. The metro police in Durban, their uniform is nice. By the way, they earn more money than the South African Police Service. The chiefs of metros earn more money than the National Commissioner. That's another thing. That's another awkward thing. That is why this city of Cape Town, where Honorable Cameron belongs, they've taken a lot of members of South African police to Metro, because Metro gives better remuneration than the South African police. Maybe those are things that at a certain given point we'll have to really look at them. Sullivan looks like he's like an octopus. I'm sure you know octopus. Octopus is almost all over. and speak about everything, sometimes that he does not know anything about. But it does look like his insecurity. His benchmark life is Bheki Cele, that he took Bheki under. He had some form of security at the airport that Bheki cut off. I'm sure the path of taking Bheki under, it was quite several millions. There. Well, there would be information that it belongs to MI6 and all that kind of thing. But he's such a shady kind of a human being with a very little understanding of matters and very much big of himself. You know, I listened to him. Mkhwanazi did say this thing here. I listened to him initially, Sullivan, when he says he was sent by the president to scan a person that was going to be a national commissioner, and he told him about Masimula, and the president went on to employ a wrong person. So I heard him, Mkhwanazi, saying that Sullivan said so here. I spoke to somebody this morning who was asking where Mkhwanazi took the thing, and they said no, it was said by Sullivan. Sullivan, according to him, is nothing but the god of security world, the god of running the politicians, the god of knowing every and any other thing. So where and how it came about here, I don't know. Maybe for that, it's important to end there. But one that it has, because it's not very much verified, could be said at a later stage. But the guy goes much deeper and much problematic about the matters. She has a version of Auntie Mary, but in a more serious and dangerous way. Auntie Mary does it academical. This one does in security way.
No, thank you. I'm asking because, you would have noticed I asked about Mdluli. I'm now asking about Liz O'Sullivan because these are people who, from what we hear, whose involvement in our security cluster and the impact of their actions have been very, very devastating.
Just one other thing. He likes his beer, big time.
He likes his beer.
He loves his beer.
Yeah. Well, I hope sooner than later we'll understand what brings them together in that way.
He loves his beer. He hates Kumalo. He hates Masimula. He hates Mkhwanazi.
Now, on the issue...
There's no problem with Mkhunu.
He has a problem?
Has no
problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, on the issue, General, of Matlala, Mr. Matlala, when in your statement you indicated that when he sent a message to somebody alerting them that we are going to come and make use of his facility or the place. Now, in that message, he says he referred to you as a business partner and a friend, something that you have firmly disputed in this meeting. Do you think that the possibility also exists that either everything or almost everything or some of what Matlala had told you about Minister Mkhunu were simply a constructed lie?
The story told will be forever 50-50 whether truth or lies until it's verified. But my problem here is Matlala says, I'll be arrested because of this document. He says, here is a document sent to me by Mkhuno/Mogotsi. So that then gives me the understanding that is correspondence. You could go for the investigation and find that he got the document from somewhere. But if it's true that it was sent through Minister Mkhuno/Mogotsi, they would have to explain, to say what was the role of that document playing in their correspondence, except saying, look at them. They are not clean as they are. I'm going to find them.
No, but I'm saying, I know that honorable member may want to make a follow-up. I'm saying, General, in terms of, this is a man you now have presented evidence before us, that this is a man who lies without being under pressure. Because when he sends a message to the third party, that please arrange for the place because my friend and a business partner is coming, that's lying without pressure. Why is it difficult for you to concede that it may very well be that in some of his assertion to you, he was acting in a way that he subsequently acted to you when he lied about you being a friend and being a business partner?
It's exactly the point I'm making, honorable member, to say the document that is sent to him, and on those bases, the minister argues or stroke him that the action will be taken, tells me that there is such a communication. That's why I'm saying 50, that there are things that could be lies. But when it comes to this one, only one thing that will make me change my mind on this one. If the document was not sent by them, but it's a document that I don't think that Matlala would have an issue of hunting and having that document. It's a document that is in the circle of security matters. Indeed, it might happen that is lying about Cele and Zuma and all that kind of stuff. That is why when Mr. Mkhuno says that's lie, and that's why I'm saying that it didn't say who's lying, Mr. Mkhuno. It might have been Cele lying, might have been Matlala lying. It might have been him lying, Mr. Mkhuno, because he might have said those things. So there is somewhere the truth. But if you say to me, this is not the truth, I would not have an issue to say I agree with it. But when it comes to I'm sure you did see on that one, I'll have a little bit of a problem believing it with ease.
Honorable Malim.
General, what is interesting is that at the Madlanga Commission, Witness C says when they were raiding Matlala's house, he asked them that the wife must leave because they found him with the wife. The wife must leave, and then he remained with them. And he started throwing names that I know so and so, I'm working with so and so. And coincidentally, he told them that I've got a relationship with Mkhuno and I'm going to see Mkhuno. We have got an appointment and all of that, which is what you told us, that is what he told you, that he knows this person and they've got some working arrangement through Mogotsi and all of that. Will that be a coincidence or a confirmation to an extent that there seems to be something happening between Mkhuno and Matlala? And what is more interesting is that he doesn't say anything about you to those police. He doesn't say, I've got this or that with Cele. He says, Mkhuno this, Mkhuno that. And then he puts Sibia as well in the whole thing, that they work with Sibia and exactly what we've been hearing here. What's your comment about that?
Well, this is a sixth. the rate is on the 6th of December, definitely it would have not come across with me. Much later in December, maybe there is one truthful thing that he would have said. But, Chairperson, I don't want to go beyond honorable member of things from other sources. So, as the honorable member has asked, why I would not concede that is lying when he says, I'll work with you, provided you don't work with Cele and Zuma on this project. It is online. It is online of politics. That thing of working with you in the project of becoming a president or a deputy president. But as I've said, that I would concede if I'm convinced that it was lies. But for the fact that there are other sources that come with that, so we'll have to look at it much closer. It did tell me about the payment. It did tell me and showed me the payment of the team that were argued that it was paid on behalf of Mkhunu coming here, their flights, their hotels, and all that kind of thing. So I know. So maybe one person that we need to look at very closely here would be Mohotsi. Mohotsi, with those screenshots, was asking a lot of 12 rand, 7 rand, or 12,000, 7,000, and all that. He was making a lot of collection on that. Did that arrive where it was meant for on behalf of the minister? Or, but as I agree with you, the name keeps cropping up, and that should be a worry.
Honorable Sangun.
Thank you, Chair. Not quickly, General, just on this thing that if we were to consider whether Mr. Matlala could have perhaps maybe lied, let's say, about him and the minister and Brown, did you not consider to ask him why he didn't go to Minister Mkhunu, who he has such a very good relationship with, and he's funding his presidential ambitions? Why didn't he go and report to Minister Mkhunu that Sibiya is making him do what Sibiya asked him to do, to lie? You didn't think to ask him that, maybe, General?
Well, Sibiya was lying about Khumalo. Is that the understanding? That Sibiya did not lie about the minister. He lied. He said Matlala must write the affidavit against Khumalo. Then I don't know why the reason that he would go to minister to say that Sibiya says I must lie. I think it was more of the police issue. Maybe that question would be why it didn't go to the national commissioner or other people. I don't know why, and I don't see the reason why it would go to the minister.
I've got only one question now, but you see why I could not finish early as I had committed to Honorable Matthias and others, because my questions are provoking further interventions. One last question. I hope, General, it's my last question. You know, Matlala, this character, Matlala, you made a very good point earlier on that, and maybe you were also answering that question jokingly when one of the members was saying something about you being associated with a character like that, and you made reference to the fact that you are a retiree You are no longer a minister. If you were a minister, you were going to have to come back and declare in an event where you had made use of the facilities of that person. Now, and I think we all have understood that. But besides the fact that you are a retired Minister General, you are not a retired leader of our movement and our people. And me and you know that our movement has historically prided itself as a parliament of the people of South Africa because of not just itself, but also the conduct of its leaders. Don't you think that if you look at it now with the benefit of hindsight, that your association in whatever kind it assumes, acquaintance, or there's a word that was used here, in whatever kind that it assumes, don't you think that it does have a negative impact on the standing of the African National Congress? And don't you think in the context like that, you are contributing indirectly in diminishing the standing of the African National Congress by being associated with such characters? Thanks, Chair. That was my last question.
Chairperson, when I met Matlala, I was not arrested. I did not even know that he's a wanted for the things that are there. By the way, many of the leaders of Matlala, leaders of the movement, have been seen with Matlala. I hope you have seen his photo with the president. I hope you have. Yeah, it's public. Is there, and I guess many people would not know, and as I would not have known then, but I repeat of what I said. Taking what I know now, I would not behave as I behaved before I know who he is and what kind of a character.
Pangazita.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm actually prompted by the response of the general, because one would have actually expect that the general, having been the minister, would have some kind of access to intelligence, information. I find it very difficult to understand and accept Uguti Umatlala could actually invade the corridors of leadership of this country without, having been vetted by some security agencies, be it criminal, South African, security, whatever. I can't accept that. I find it very difficult whether or not we still have a intelligence capacity as a country. If not, then we are very vulnerable. Thank you.
General, do you have any comment to make?
Well, the comment is that what I said yesterday to say is not the terrain of the minister to know the intelligence world. It's not. Somebody raised a question about counterintelligence. I just imagine the minister calling the counterintelligence. That would be worst. But with the president and those structures, remember, president has access to all these structures. The state security, for instance, the national commissioner and the head of intelligence in the police can be called by the president without telling me. If they want, they can tell me. If they don't want, they cannot tell me. The state security could be. And I think even the DI, president can have an access to DI. So if you ask me that question, I will take it that such a character would have been known and in the radar of these structures. And at a certain given point, having said, Mr. President, there is such issue with this person. Has that happened? I don't know. Maybe it has happened. Maybe it has been after some time. But there is one problem about photos. It's a serious problem. I'm not sure whether I know one person that they take a lot of photos with his Julius, Honorable Malem, and then I
don't have a photo with Matlala. Never.
Well, at least Usbaru wako. So, and then these photos, you find them moving around. So, and you really say, did I take this one? You know this Matala issue. There is a photo that I've taken recently. I was not even aware that one person has changed here. So now when it moves around and you see that there are changes, you realize, man. So at this level, it can happen when people, but I agree with you that at the top level there must be people that are protecting to say, but you can't take it without shouting. So this picture can't be there and all that kind of thing. So I agree with you on that one.
Honorable James.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add on to the Chief Whip's comment, not only does it negatively tarnish the image of the political party to which you belong, it also sends a painful message. Although we are discussing things here at a very high level, it also sends a very painful message to the mother down there whose child has just stolen from her. When you sleep in the hotel of someone that is allegedly embroiled in drug cartels, it means that you almost become indirectly a beneficiary of what we go through in our communities. So when we look at you as a leader, and we expect your conduct to be of such. I accept what you said earlier on, that your relationship, in hindsight right now, when you look at it was a mistake. It should never have happened. But I just thought that I would emphasize how the public feels, how we as mothers and as people that's living with this feel when we see you benefiting from our pain and from the monies that our children steal from us. Thank you, Minister.
Honorable Chair, is exactly the point that human beings will make mistakes. You come back and say it happened. I'm sure those mothers would have that question. But when I said, I didn't know this person is, now I know and it won't happen, I believe that they would understand. Thanks.
SC.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members. Just a few questions, General. How much did you know about Kabindi working for IPID? And would it have been at the time when McBride was the head of IPID? Around 2017?
Around 2017, I know that was working for IPID, but I was not in the security establishment in 2017. I was doing one of my top jobs, which was the Deputy Minister of Agriculture.
And subsequently, when you became Minister in 2018?
I think by then he was not there, either suspended or whatever the issue. But I think he was not working by then.
You're talking about in Kabinde, not in
yes.
McBride?
Kabinde.
Mm. And
McBride? I'm asking about McBride.
No, I'm asking about Kabinde. Kabinde, do you know that he was, and I speak subject to correction, but I heard that he was also involved or embroiled with some issue with O'Sullivan. Did you hear anything about that or know anything about that?
Well, I know that there were issues between them, but mostly my issues, the issues I know is that Sullivan worked closely with McBride, maybe more than Nkabinde. I wouldn't know exactly the involvement of Nkabinde, but I know that there was some common touch.
So the common touch between O'Sullivan and McBride resulted in Nkabinde either being suspended or dismissed or resigning?
Well, I don't know the reason of suspension of Nkabinde.
Now, IPID investigates police misconduct. So that would commence with some complaint about the conduct of a police officer, either a member of the public or a colleague or a whistleblower. Would it be, in your experience, having been minister for so long and obviously interacting, I suppose, with IPID from time to time, that two officers of IPID would go and visit a complainant to discuss the case or maybe take a statement or ask for further information?
We talk of McBride and Nkabinde.
Well, generally,
visiting.
I'm going to ask you something specific, but I'm just asking.
I don't know why at that level, especially the head of the institution, will do so. Visit me at home.
Yeah.
I might be, if there is any form of respect, I might be visited by some officers, but it can't be the head of. It can't be Masimula coming to my place to take the statement and all that. I'm sure he might send some officers to go and do this. So to answer your question, it does sound unusual.
Or does it depend on the profile of the person or some influence that the person might have, either as a high-ranking officer or a high-ranking or well-known politician?
Even so, I would not expect the head of the institution to come and visit at that level. That might be the influence, but I think the influence can only say, as a head, I'm sending you, Junior, to go and see this so and so at his place. But the whole head going there and taking somebody going there, it does sound unusual.
So just your comment then, because the specific case is in 2017 when a chairperson can't handle this question anyway, it seems. In 2017, McBride and Nkabinde visited the home of Minister Mchunu. At the time, he was still unemployed, as it were. Yet you will recall he was a premier, then he was removed, and it was in that period afterwards in 2017 when one of his bodyguards or someone close to him, a protector, was killed, and he then lodged a complaint because he was accused of being involved in it. And then McBride and Nkabinde visited his home.
I've heard about that visit, but I would just wonder why it would have been the head of the institution and Nkabinde and the McBride taking Nkabinde going there. I really will formulate no opinion why they would have gone there.
And then he appoints a private investigator to become involved, presumably to almost play an oversight role and ensure that the police officers involved do their work. And Nkabinde is then sent to see the Hawks because Senzo Mchunu alleged that the Hawks were harassing him. What do you make of all that?
Harassing who? Hawks were harassing who?
They allegedly harassing Minister Mkhunu.
So he sends the PI, private investigator.
No, he doesn't send the PI. And Gabindi, after the visit by him and McBride to him, Gabindi goes to the Hawks to speak to the Hawks. Whatever, we don't know what he said to the Hawks or asked the Hawks or told the Hawks. But it is because Minister Mkhunu is now complaining that they are harassing him. What's your comment on this kind of conduct or this kind of...
What audacity Gabindi had to go to the Hawks and tell them who to work with or not?
Yes, no, I think I just want to understand and how that would work when it's the independent complaints arm of the police visiting a complainant, and then from the complainant going to another arm of the police, the Hawks, who are supposed to be independent, and going to speak to them about harassing a complainant to IPID.
Gabindi was still in IPID then?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what form that Minister Mkhunu then approached the matter. But remember, private citizens of South Africa, they have a right to approach IPID if they feel they are harassed by the police. That will include the complaint about Hawks does not go to IPID. It goes to the Hawks judge. It doesn't go to IPID.
But I think at that time there wouldn't have been a judge. I think that was fairly recent.
So then if the private citizen is harassed by the police or Hawks, then if there were no judges, they had a right to go and investigate the allegation, not to tell the Hawks to stop or not, because to investigate, and the police or the Hawks would say we had a case to pursue, and then it ends there with the IPID must allow the police to continue to do their work. So I don't understand the modus here, why it would happen that way. Was it a courtesy visit to say stop it, or was it investigation? I wouldn't know.
Thank you, General. In your capacity as Minister of Police during your time from 2018 through to June 2024, did you at any stage interfere with any police investigations, live dockets, or interact with the National Public Prosecution Service at all in relation to any case?
No, I've never been part of dockets of the investigators. Under my job as a National Commissioner and the Minister of Police, dockets don't come close to me.
So you don't at all, when you interact with the police, for example, we know that when you were minister, you appear on television regularly at the scene of a crime because of your concern as the Minister of Police. And as you told us in your consultation, you're an elected office bearer, official, and the people, when something happens like the tavern killings, when those youngsters died in the tavern, you go to the scene of the crime because the community are not asking, where's the National Commissioner? Where's the provincial commissioner? They want to know, where's the minister?
In many times, you will go there because the communities are making that call to say, where is the minister? And the member sitting behind you, Honorable James, will also remember that there were many calls, especially to Westbury, where we'll go and explain. Places like Enyobeni, people will send, will listen to them in the morning as kids have died the last night, where is the minister and all that. I've found out with my work that people don't expect National Commissioner to come and explain as communists. They expect politicians, the minister, to come and explain what has happened. And they'll even further argue to say, you are a public representative. We elected you. We did not elect the commissioner. Their job, commissioners, is to work on the crime scene, arrest and investigate. The job of the politicians is to link up and talk with the people there.
Now, the reason why I asked you that is that in many of these scenes, crime scenes that you have visited, surely you would maintain an interest in those cases, like the Saldanha case, the Tavern case in East London. Those cases you would maintain an interest, but would that interest, you'd maintain an interest. But
yes.
Isn't it so also that from time to time you would have more than an interest in the case? That you would either somehow become involved in the continued or further investigation of the case, or the prosecution of the case, or whether or not a case should be prosecuted?
Well, some of those cases, the communities, the relatives, the parents do need the ongoing kind of briefing. So what you would do is that the investigators, they take you through how far have they gone. Not about the investigation, but about the level that they've covered to try to resolve the case, and then you report back. But at no stage as a minister, maybe as a national commissioner you might, but no stage as a minister where you say, can you show me the docket? Let me see this docket. How far have you gone? What are you written in the docket? That is completely out of the terrain of the minister.
Or once a docket is actually taken to the prosecutor to prosecute the case, you wouldn't become involved in the decision whether or not to prosecute?
No.
I ask this again in the context of the tragic, the first tragic death of Anele Tembi and the
tragic of
Anele,
okay.
And then the murder of AKA.
Okay.
Were you not involved in either or both of those matters?
In murdering?
No,
not involved in murdering.
Not perpetrating the crime. I'm saying in your interest, they were both very high-profile cases.
For information, I was bombarded heavily of not attending the crime scene of AKA. Everybody was asking, where is he? We didn't see. He knows what happened and all that. Instead, I went to see the parents here in Johannesburg. I visited the parents and I spoke with the parents and all that. Maybe today I can take also the opportunity, because in the social medias and everybody said, AKA father snapped me and they shook hands from Kwanaze in court. That day I took the flight with AKA father from Cape Town. We spoke from there. We spoke at the airport and we agreed that we'll meet at the courthouse. So had no business then to come and shake the hand when we have met that early in the morning, when we moved together from all the way from Cape Town to here. So I wanted to make that. But I had a lot of a link. I had a lot of a link with the family, with AK. But for that fact that the father would phone and ask, have we found anything? So now and again, I would ask from the provincial commissioner to find out, is there any positive story that we can tell the family. One thing about that case, it was quite a difficult case to investigate. They would tell you things that they are close, but never reach where they were supposed to reach. But nonetheless, you'll be told that we're still working on it, so that you are able to let the family know.
No, I'm just. But is it your evidence that you never became involved at all in the investigation of the case, the decision to prosecute or not to prosecute? You're not involved at all.
Case of AKA?
Well, both. I think in the case of Anele, there was, I think there is or was an inquest.
Nene. Which other case?
Anele.
Anele.
Yes.
Or the daughter?
Yeah, I think the
daughter of Tembe?
Yeah.
No, I was never involved in a prosecution, in investigation, and with the prosecutor. No, I would have been briefed.
No, I just thought that
by those that were involved.
Yeah, that while we have the opportunity of having you here to ask, is that I'd been requested to ask about it. As a minister, would you be privy to a work plan that is being an organizational work plan that's being designed in the South African Police Service? You know that there's an organizational plan that is, I think, every 3 or 4 years it's revised and so on. And I'm asking that in the context of a work study of 2019, which I actually want to ask you whether you knew about it. It was attached to Sabia's affidavit, and then more recently in Minister Mkunu's affidavit, he attached a 2024 work study, which one can see from the various signatures of some senior officials. You know that sequence until at the end the National Commissioner signs off on it. Whether you were aware of that work study, because he relies on the 2024 work study to demonstrate that the PKTT was going to be disestablished or dismantled.
Well, you could be privy, but it depends on the National Commissioner. There is no obligation that they come and show you, but because is organogram of the organization that you finally politically had. The National Commissioner would show that this is what we have, deputy, the units, the divisions, and all that kind of stuff. But it remains his or her territory on that one. So if as it develops, can show you, but at a certain given point when it passes, he or she can pass it without your concurrence or disagreement.
So it's a purely operational matter.
Exactly.
And when it is shared with you, they would come and say, Minister, this has now been reorganized and this is now what the structure looks like. But it's not to consult or ask you for your input.
It's not for consultation. It's just showing you. It's prerogative of the.
Now, I just want to ask you. There's because in this work study, there's an which Minister Mkunu relies on to justify this directive of 31 December, amongst others. We see that there's a number of by introduction. By way of introduction, that these task teams that I'm going to mention, some of them are criticized because they're out of control. Their members spend a lot of money, and they're not operating within the confines of the budget and so on. And the teams that are mentioned, the foreign vehicle team, the multiple trio task team, the narcotics team, the kidnap and ransom team, the extortion team, and then there's the PKTT is not specifically mentioned, but there's reference to a political murders team, and there's about 10 or 12 different task teams. Now, this is a document that was signed off actually eventually in 2025 by the National Commissioner. But by the time you vacated office as minister, these task teams, it appears, were still in operation.
Yes, they were. But most interestingly, why then December 31st you cancel one when they're all in the same line of problem? So why do you cancel one?
Well, that's it. That's why I mentioned it to you. On what basis, without any reasons, do you single out one of these task teams?
So there are almost 10 there.
Yeah, and I know we're under time pressure, but if you look at the organogram, that's one of the reasons that Minister Nkunu gives, because you won't see them listed in the organogram.
But why do you cancel one when there are 10?
Yeah. And to your knowledge, the other 9 or 10 or 12, are they still in operation? To your knowledge?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if those task teams are there. But it would have been nice if the 31st letter would have said, deal with all these and count 10. Why one?
Yeah. Because it seems to me, that these are dedicated multidisciplinary task teams, for the very reason that that particular area where crime is being committed has been identified for special attention. Would that be the case? Like extortion, murder, kidnapping?
There will never be time, SC, where there is no task team established. For instance, in South Africa, kidnapping is a new thing. Extortion is a new thing. So you could not have had that thing in the organogram because extortion is very new. It started here in Cape Town a few years ago. Kidnapping, it came from Mozambique a few years ago and all that. And unfortunately, both of them, they need a lot of skill and dedicated people and machinery. For instance, kidnapping needs a lot of equipment of doing different things on it. And those equipment will take money to be there and all that. They are new things, they are specialized, so they'll have to put money on it. There will be other things, some other time that was not part of it that will have to be policed. That is not in the organogram, but we'll have to put them as a task team in response. And then some of them, those task team will have to end because maybe that problem has ended. So it's going to be a running target, this thing of task team, but permanently there as coming and going. But the question for me still stands that if there are these 10 task teams, whether exist or not, why on that particular day cancel one?
It seems to me that the National Commissioner, presumably in consultation with his deputy commissioners for the very different sections like policing and so on, can establish a task team at any time for a specific purpose.
For instance, extortion and I think those are the youngest. Extortion and the kidnapping team are the youngest to respond to the new crime in the market, because those are two new crimes in the market.
Doesn't have to be on the organogram.
No. Otherwise, if you wait for organogram, that takes about 3 to 5 years. Yeah. The criminals will be laughing all the way to the bank, waiting for organogram. and ask people, why don't you arrest? No, organogram is coming.
So although the PKTT was established to serve a particular purpose, it was a task team. This team continued to exist and to be funded from the police budget, and according to your evidence, it's still in existence.
Well, I don't know if it was funded from the police alone. I don't know if prosecutors that are dedicated there were paid by the police. I don't know. Maybe justice will help us one day, that those dedicated prosecutors, for instance, there will have to be an extra money for special courts. There will be an extra money for magistrates and prosecutors that go there a little bit out of their work. So I would have loved to know who pays for those. But this money we talk about is paying for one component, and that component is the police.
And that is why you had the interministerial committee.
That is why I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah, with other ministers, so that they look after their specific activities in their departments.
Now, I would have thought, or most people would have thought, that the establishment of the Independent Directorate Against Corruption was welcomed. But from the evidence of Lieutenant General Kwenazi, and it also appears to be the case from your evidence, that there seems to be, let me put it neutrally, some kind of issues against IDEC, especially in the wake of their arrest of Lieutenant General Khumalo. What exactly is your complaint about IDEC?
No, I would not complain about the work of the IDEC, but I can't have a structure, such a powerful structure, that has no oversight. That would be my main complaint. That up to this point, I don't know any form of oversight, like the iPad with the police, like the judge with the Hawks. So otherwise, you'll find the people running amok without anybody checking them and telling them to fall in line.
But you're not able to comment on the allegation that for some reason or other, Lieutenant General Khumalo was, of course, he was arrested and he appeared in court.
Well, that's a story that is on the air. The Honorable Member Ngola yesterday said we'll have to find the letter. But that's a story I know, that the letter was written from the office of the minister to deal with this matter. If that is the case, it's absolutely out of order. If it could be established, I think is a matter that will have to be corrected and take a very serious corrective measures on it. That the office of the minister cannot write the law enforcement and enforcing agency to say do it. It can't be.
Then just a last aspect relating to the terms of reference of this honourable committee to make recommendations to Parliament on possible reforms and remedial measures, because it's quite clear that there are a number of problems, and I think you've addressed them very well. But some people may be concerned because the Parliament will also have to adopt an approach, and we've got a constitution. It must be done in accordance with the constitution, must be constitutionally compliant. But a number of people would be concerned about your approach to policing. We've heard you, I don't want to repeat the words here in this august chamber, but it appears to be an approach where, you've just got to attack the criminals and shoot them, and you yourself have mentioned you're concerned about the right to bail. General Kwenazi, who seems to share this approach, He complains about the trade unions getting people off their disciplinary hearings. He complains about the media using allegedly confidential or information and putting it in the papers. And you also seem to have a problem with our system of parole.
There was a famous statement here that was associated with me, shoot to kill.
Yes.
So even on the road, when the young people see me, they'll say, shoot to kill. I've made a challenge and I want to repeat here. Show me where Cele says so. Either in a print form or electronic. I've never uttered that statement, that shoot to kill.
Well, thankfully, I didn't repeat it, yeah.
Yeah. It has been interpreted from my stance to say police cannot die with the guns in their hands. And I stand by that. SC, there are two ways of policing in South Africa. You police the masses that have a right to complain, have a right to march and all that kind of stuff. And you cannot use force to those people. That's why you train POP, public order policing, to go and deal with those people that are legitimately complaining about those things. There are those that they plan to eliminate whoever on their way as they go to do their work. Those people like cash in transit. Therefore, that's why you develop your NIU, your TROT, your special task force. So the policing will be forever to approach what is a danger in front of you is an ordinary South Africans demanding the rights that they should have, and you police them as such. Or are the criminals that they want to take over the systems and make life difficult for everybody? So I always look at the tennis players. The harder you hit, the harder you return. That's how you play the tennis.
No, sometimes you play a drop shot.
That's how you play the tennis.
Just play it over the net.
We are not going to take the POP and give them rubber bullets and give them water tanks and say there is cash ice there. Rush, here are the rubber bullets. We're not going to do that. Again, we're not going to take a special task force and say, look, there are people complaining about electricity and water there. Take your life ammunition. So there'll be always these categories, and police must be enabled to respond accordingly.
So a flexible approach depending on the nature of the threat or the crime being committed. If you're dealing with armed robbers intent on committing a heist, then you deal with them accordingly.
I love my term.
You don't send in public order police.
I love my term accordingly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, General. And again, thank you for your cooperation. And you're the one witness that we interviewed. We didn't see any lawyers in the room. And so thank you very much. And your evidence has been extremely helpful to inform our terms of reference. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair, committee members.
Okay. Thank you so much, SC and your team. Thank you so much, General, for the time that you have created to be with us here. And I want to take the opportunity and thank honorable members. Honorable Skosana, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the witness, General Minister. He complained earlier, Chair, to say, I'm the one who brought him here. It's not true. It's so I just want to say to you, nothing personal. I know he was angry a bit, that perhaps, as he said yesterday, that
I'm the one who called him here. It's our work, Minister. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you to you, Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks myself. No, I did not call the lawyers because I thought things that have to do with the truth and only truth. It would be worse to call Nomvaba to be my lawyer. It would be really worse then. Having said so, I did not get the opportunity, but I'm jealous. There was a big debate here about the devolution of powers. I want to repeat. I felt sorry that you put the operative to the political debate. Maybe it can be debated at the next time, but it was unfair, very unfair, to put the police officer to debate the law. Police officers don't debate the law; they enforce the law. They don't debate it; they don't develop it; they enforce it. So I would say so. Thank you.
Look, honorable members, we were at a point where we were thanking all of you for your participation in this week's proceedings. To our staff that coordinates our activities and keep the public informed about the work that we do here. We want to thank you so much. And I see honorable members also bring their staff from their respective parties. We also want to thank them for the support that they give you. We want to thank you so much for that. We are resuming next week, Tuesday. The starting time will be 11 o'clock. Yeah, it will be 11 o'clock on Tuesday. Yeah, you won't be here in those, so I always get disappointed when we come to the end of the meetings, and there is nothing I can do. Even if I want to continue with the meeting, there is nobody raising a hand. I don't have any choice but to call off the meeting.
Point of order, Chair.
The meeting.
Our guest is asking a question, Chair. You must answer that question,
The meeting stand adjourned.
But Chair, there's a question from our guest, Chair.
We will meet next week, Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Thank you so much.
Chair, uthi ndo sinenkinga ekhaya yini? Makhanda.